Is this pastor out of pocket? So today we're going to be talking about this post from Words by Ezekiel, and where he basically painted the scenario. I don't know if it's a real scenario or not, but before we do, like this video, hit the subscribe button, and let's check this out. So Words by Ezekiel said, engaged couple Sherry and Rich are submitted under leadership of a church pastor. Sherry, who is curvy, posts vacation photos in what she considers a modest one-piece bikini. Pastor deems the photos inappropriate and lustful and charges Sherry to delete. I don't know what charges mean. He uses these church language, so something charge can mean one thing or another. But we'll get into that in a moment. Rich is actually fine with the post, but Sherry deletes them anyway. Rich is now upset because he sees this as Sherry revealing tendencies to prioritize the pastor's voice over his voice as the future husband. That's interesting. So what do you think about this?
I think it's a lot of different parts, and I kind of wish that I had a little bit more information.
Right.
But first of all, right off the bat, my thought was, are they just like members of the church? Are they in training or currently some type of leaders under the pastor? So I do think that plays a difference. It doesn't say specifically, so we just have to go off of what we have, right? So after that, my thought was, why is the pastor so concerned about her pictures? I'm guessing they're friends on social media.
Exactly.
And he just scrolling through and like, no, not Sister Sherry. Like, I don't know. And he felt that it was so risque or whatever to actually go to her and charge her, right? Like, highly encourage. Like, you know, this is my advice to you.
I think that's what that means.
I think so, to take him down. So I'm just like, I just think there's bigger fish to fry. I don't know about that, okay? That's one side. And then the other side, I'm going to let you go because I want to hear what you have to think about it. I don't think that her deciding to take the pictures down in the end determines if she's going to listen to her pastor over her future husband, okay? I emphasize future because it is not her current husband. She is single with the ring. That's it, with an engagement ring. So let's get that straight. But I don't think Rich, can jump to those conclusions necessarily. He's not her husband. He didn't mind. He didn't care. He thought the pictures were fine. Pastor, her current leader, who she respects, sees as the shepherd of the flock at the church she goes to, advise her to do that. I can just see, like, a lot of women, maybe myself being like, I don't want to make it a big issue because it's nice, a picture. I got other pictures and I was having other outfits, and I just don't want to, be a distraction or something. I don't know. And just decide, hey, I'm going to take them down. But yeah, I don't think, that means that for future reference when they're married, that she's going to always just say, no, but Pastor says this. I don't care what you say. I'm going with him. So, I don't want to jump to those conclusions. But yeah.
Okay, so I got a lot to say on this.
What are you thinking?
I got a lot to say. So there's a lot of layers. I think where I'm going to start off is, okay, it's easy to jump to conclusions and assume the worst. It's a lot you can get mixed up. Fiancé, words matter. So pastor charging her to delete photos. What is charge? Is it, because charge could mean saying like delete them, like telling you to.
You don't have a choice.
Like a correction, rebuke, because he said it's lustful and inappropriate. So charge could mean it was a rebuke, take it down. Not literally like maybe like that, but it could be like, you should take those down. Or it could be, I just encourage you, I think they're inappropriate, lustful. I would encourage you to take those down. They're not a good look. I don't think they're a good look for you. Then you also have the side where, okay, it says that they're submitted under leadership of a church/pastor. So that tends to hint toward like they're at the very least active in some capacity in the church. Maybe they're not pastors or deacons or very clearly like, maybe they're not like in that type of leadership, but they might serve in the church. They might do some community service. They might do just in-service type of things, usher, something like that. It could be like little small things that they do, or they could just volunteer for different events and stuff like that. They could just be loyal members who are submitted under them. So it's a little bit vague, but we'll just assume that they have some meat in the game. Like they are a part of the church in an active way. In that case, then now you're saying, okay, they're submitted and they're wanting to represent God. They want to represent Jesus with how they live their lives and how they show it. And it's also a matter of, okay, everybody, when it comes to modesty, there is a side of intent that is important, but there's also a side of wisdom. And it's one of those things where it's like, if in her heart, she's like, okay, I got this one piece because I wasn't going to get a 2-piece because I thought that would be too much to show. So I got a 1-piece already. I thought this was modest, much more covered up and all of that. But that might have been modest to what she felt. But then the pastor had a whole nother standard of what he felt is modest.
Not enough.
So it's not enough. It's just like, you can never be conservative enough for someone. You might think you're the most conservative Christian that's out there as far as how you live and do things, what you do or don't do. Then there's always somebody that's going to one-up you. You're like, I don't have Netflix. Well, someone like, I don't even have a TV. I don't have anything. So there's always going to be somebody that one-up you. So it's always a conversation to that. Then you also have the bias against women where it's like, okay, well, did the husband have a T-shirt on when he was at the vacation?
Probably not.
Probably not. In a lot of cases, and that's never even addressed. But then, okay, then you have the aspect of the man. Let me touch on this. And I think I hear where you're coming from in it, and I don't disagree. But I think as someone who is going to be, in his case, who's going to be a husband, he's looking at how does she listen to him versus some outside factor. And so I do think that if they both talked about it and she felt that she wasn't wrong, he felt that she wasn't wrong, but the pastor felt the way, I do think that it would have been better. I'm not saying what she should or shouldn't have done, but I personally think it would have been better if she had another conversation, say, hey, I don't want no smoke. It's just a picture at the end of the day. We had a great time. I don't feel like I was necessarily in the wrong. However, my pastor doesn't think this was appropriate or wise, and we are submitted to this person. I think we should, in this case, submit to this, where it's like, maybe we should, maybe we were fine when we were there and I was wearing this, whatever, but I guess maybe the photo is the issue. Feels like it's promoting something that I'm not. Maybe I'll just take it down just so everything could be cool, calm, and the pastor know that I respect him.
So you're saying
and all of
you
that.
think you should have had another conversation with Rich about that?
That's my opinion.
Okay.
I think that should have happened before just deciding to do it, because now it comes off like, yo, I told you were good. Like, don't worry about it. Pastor's tripping. Like, you're totally fine. And her going along with what a pastor said, because again, the word charge is here. I wish there was a different word used, because it makes it hard to know if he's telling her. I feel like he's telling her. I took it as telling her to do it versus, hey, I just don't think that's wise. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if I would, encourage probably I don't know if it's appropriate, whatever. If it was more passive like that, that'd be one thing. But if it was like how I took it, was like how he charged her to like take it down, like you should take it down because it's inappropriate. I feel like then for her to go ahead with that, I do think that isn't as healthy for a relationship, especially one that's going into marriage, because I think it's one of those things. She's not obligated to have obeyed him where her husband wanted, or a future husband wanted. She was not obligated to, but I think that would have been better if she involved him in on it more when she's like, hey, I'm going to just do this, and explain her heart behind it. I think he would have felt better about it. That's just me. What do you think about that?
I will say, they could have had those conversations. She could have talked to him again, but it didn't matter. Rich could have still felt, at the end of the day, even if she talked to him again, that, oh, well, she's taking the pastor's say over me. So they could have had those conversations. It doesn't go in depth about that either. I understand what you're saying. And again, I'm not saying he's, like a horrible person or controlling for thinking that. I'm just saying, if he knows Sherry's heart and, as far as he think he knows before they get married, that, he shouldn't necessarily jump to those conclusions that that's what she's going to do in future situations.
I'm always going to default on saying communication is key. You got to communicate. You got to talk these things through. You got to come to a place where you make it a win-win, where both sides feel acknowledged, validated in it, and all that. And I think a lot of times we'll just make a decision and we'll, out of principle, we're not married, I don't owe you this. But it's like, okay, you don't owe it, but wouldn't it have been healthier for us if we both had came to a conclusion that we agreed on? What if it went like this? This is what I'll say, and then I'll end it pretty much. What if it went this way? She came to him saying what pastor said. He's like, no, that's nothing wrong with this. I don't know why he feels that way, but you didn't do anything wrong. This was not immodest. This wasn't inappropriate. That wasn't your heart. That wasn't nothing. We were just having a good time. I thought you were dressed well. It's okay. And then she goes and deletes it anyway, and it doesn't go any further. Like, she's not like, I think he's right or anything. It would come off like what he had said wasn't enough for her, and that he was in the wrong for telling her that because she ended up going with what the pastor said.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt like, well, you're going to just ignore it. You didn't care that I affirmed you when the pastor didn't. So it's like, you're not spending your whole life with your pastor. I mean, yeah, you might be in the ministry over the duration of your life, whatever, but like, you're not spending your whole life day to day with this person and all of that. And so it's like, you couldn't trust me, the advice I gave you, who was with you on the vacation or whatever the situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, do we know if they were on the vacation?
Yeah, I just thought about that. I don't know if that might be a whole
other thing. She could have been with her girl.
Yeah. No, and I'm not saying, we don't know. We don't have any visual of the one piece, I guess, bikini. Yeah. It probably could have been a little bit too much. It could have been too much. It could have.
Because they could have cutouts and all type of stuff. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, it very well could have been inappropriate. But it's one of those things where it's like, I think that's why we would say the takeaway that I think I have, and it sounds like you echo it a little bit. It's like, yeah, that extra communication would have been helpful. Not necessarily that it was required for her to have to explain herself to her fiance of all people. Like, he's not her husband yet. She didn't owe that to him in that moment. They're not married. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, if you know in the front end that communication about it would help, at least saying like, hey, I do feel the fact that he felt that way. I trust his input. I trust your input too, but I really do trust his heart behind it when he came to me. I don't feel like he was just mean or anything. I feel like he really had genuine concern.
And as far as the pastor, we thinking that he didn't have to focus on that so heavily, or what is this charge? You know? Yeah,
charge is like, we again, outside looking in, we can't say at the end of the day. So those are our thoughts on this. This is a funny situation in many ways because it's like these are things that women, men deal with in the church. These are conversations that we have to have, and it doesn't mean that there's always a cookie cutter answer.
For sure.
Yeah, it'd be easy to just be like, well, pastor should mind his business, but we don't know who these people are to the ministry. We don't know what she was wearing. We don't know any of those factors, but what we do know is what the Bible says. We know what scripture talks about, what it calls for when it comes to modesty, both for men and women. And we also understand the importance of communication and having a healthy relationship with your pastor, with your fiance, husband to be, all of that. And we are going to do the best we can to find ways that we can navigate these things and so that we can promote healthy relationships with God, pastors, family, spouses, all the which. So let us know your thoughts. Leave a comment. Let us know if you agree with the pastor. Was the pastor out of pocket, or maybe was the pastor on to something, but the overall communication could have been better. So, but before you head out, like this video.
Subscribe.
Yes, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos.